Hey everybody, welcome back to Without a Candle. This is Karlie and Carla.
Hi guys.
Your hosts. Today we are kind of squirrely, to say the least.
Yeah, it's been a good morning though.
Yeah.
A lot of there's a better word for us than aha moments. We don't have that verb right now.
I think that's a pretty good. Oh, you okay?
You can take all that.
Yes.
Okay. I like it.
Okay. So these aha moments, I wish we would have recorded, but we just had a conversation
because we just chatted for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. Chatter.
Yeah.
Fantastic insight.
Yeah.
And we realized that those are the moments
that
that we need to be sharing.
Yeah. But maybe we can recreate that conversation in some way, shape, or form.
We just need a list. We need a list of, like, thought bubbles.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just a camcorder recording it 24/7 at this point. Yeah.
I mean, we mentioned GoPro, right?
Right. So today, we really wanted to talk to you guys about how the spiritual journey is so imperfect. And I feel like that is a misconception that a lot of people have when they meet practitioners or just community in general. They think, at least in my experience, I feel like a lot of people think, oh, they're on a spiritual journey, their life must be so great, or they've had all of these enlightened experiences, and, you know, their life is just so perfect now.
Well, I mean, except for the last part, the rest of it's not wrong.
Yeah.
Like, we are on a journey, but so are you.
Right.
Even though maybe your journey is not grand yet, you know, in time it could be or it would be.
Mm-hmm.
But we are great.
Yeah.
We do have a plethora. But I think what you're trying to get to is that we're not the know-it-all. We're not the know-all, be-all, end-all kind of thing.
Yeah.
We are here for guidance and to share perspective and to share conversation. But we're not, you still need to, you know, use your own judgment and take your own time to do your own study. But we're here definitely to bounce off conversation and concept with. Yeah.
We're definitely a tool.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest picture that a lot of people miss is that you're a forever student.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, you're a forever student when you're on a spiritual journey, because there's always a new outlook. There's always a new modality. There's always a new something that's going to give you guys an aha moment of clarity, or, you know, whatever it is. And it's a journey for a reason. So there's going to be ups and downs and twists and turns and rocks in the road, but that doesn't mean that you guys are off of that journey.
But not only that, like, do you know how much freedom and how much joy there is in knowing that I don't have to have it all figured out? That's a whole different pressure, you know, being taken off of someone's shoulders.
Yeah.
So I appreciate, and I know Karlie appreciates too, when you guys come to us for questions and conversations. But the amount of people that appreciate, like, when you ask me a question and I'm still figuring out, the fuck if I know, like, the people that appreciate the honesty and the vulnerability about, like, okay, so let's look into this together and let's, you know, maybe find another source that maybe someone, one of our friends, has figured out that shit, right? Like, I love the concept of QHHT.
Yeah.
But I'm not a professional in that, right? And I know Gina's practiced it for a while, but she's a practitioner and a professional, but she's still learning too. Yeah. Like, we're all still learning. Yeah. So
even being Reiki masters ourselves, we still practice all the time, whether that is self-Reiki, whether that is on each other, whether that is reading a new book on Reiki, or looking at a different type of lineage within Reiki. There's always something to learn from.
And new techniques too. Yeah. So, like, you know, I know you know, but we teach here at ARW the traditional techniques. And then there's always conversation after that about what feels good intuitively. However, the next practitioner we, come in contact with, they may have an intuitive technique that we need to see or that we could utilize seeing.
Yeah.
So it's always nice. And I have another, I struggle or have a challenge sometimes with like friends and colleagues. I know of another person that coined the phrase that she is a healer for healers. Because even as practitioners and even as healers, sometimes we still need that external healing, right? Yeah. So the whole concept about nurses are the worst patients, that kind of thing.
Doctors, yeah. So within our realm, like us being practitioners, we still need, that healing, just like doctors still need doctors, therapists still need therapists, the grocery store clerk still needs to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's not that we're on a journey and we can do the journey by ourselves and, it's going to make, how do I say this?
I don't know. But
like continue our journey and further our journey just by ourselves. No, we have to use those resources.
I feel like it allows a moment of, clarity is not even a good enough word. No. I don't know how to describe it. But that last, on Saturday, I had a session with Reagan. I did the craniosacral. She only did an hour, because that's what the time slots were. But I could have sat in that craniosacral sessions for another 8 hours.
Oh, wow.
And so those were one of those days where I sought out another practitioner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I think with us making it known, like very transparency, that like even though we're practitioners and people come to us as a practitioner, we still need our own, and that helps humanize not only our existence to people, but also the journey in itself, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have to be a practitioner to have any enlightenment, and you don't have to go to a practitioner at all to have enlightenment. Whatever spiritual journey you're on and how that looks for you makes sense to you, and that's your journey.
Yeah.
Before we get further, I had like a little bubble that came.
Okay.
I kind of want you to describe what a spiritual journey means to you.
Okay. So it's been worded many different ways, and I'm sure there's many different many different beliefs or practices around it. I believe, one, that we are a soul having a human spiritual experience. Okay, so that could be a little confusing at first too. So we've chosen. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how I chose some of these things in this life, but apparently I did. But that we have chosen a human experience, and then the concept that we have even chosen it here, like on Earth, right?
Yeah.
So that's one piece. I do believe in reincarnation as well. Okay. So reincarnation, again, as a human, I don't believe once we've chosen a human experience that we can come back as anything but that, right? Until at some point we are just a bigger piece of that soul experience. And I believe that happens when we have fulfilled not only our contract, but our karmic debt.
Yeah.
So not just karma from this lifetime, but karma from past lifetimes. Yeah. So if you're a good human, but you're living a shitty life, or you're having some shitty human experiences, maybe you didn't do it this time. Maybe you did it last life, right? Who knows? Whatever. But the journey, it's almost like seeing, at first I wanted to use infancy, right? Okay. But now I think maybe I want to use maybe a plant analogy.
I was just thinking that, like a seedling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how, the seed is planted, and even before it can, I'm not a plant person, so I don't know all the proper verbiage, but even before it can break through that first shell and to have little micro roots, the environment just has to be right. There has to be some level of acceptance. There has to be some level of comfort for anything at all to start to happen. And then as the environment continues to nurture that plant, there's a little bit more, so the first two true leaves.
Yeah.
On most plants, they almost always look the same, right? So those first true leaves, maybe that's the awareness that there are options, that there is more out in there than to what your family or friends or your upbringing has led you to believe, right? So maybe that's the first two leaves. Like we're just, testing the water and learning to grow a little bit. It's kind of tricky to go through
all the things.
Yeah, and to stay on track to explain it. But as the environment keeps allowing growth and connections with, proper nutrients in the plant world, or whatever that may be, there continues to be new evolution. There continues to be new perspectives, right? Maybe I spend 5 years in this one perspective, but I have this new influence, whether it's Carla or someone else, that has a slightly different perspective to shift that. I believe it's forever. Mm-hmm. I believe even death is not the end of this spiritual journey, but it's just another piece of this spiritual journey.
It's so.
Was that even the answer you're looking for?
Yeah,
kind of, sort of.
Yeah, because I feel like when people get into spirituality, they don't understand like exactly what it is, right? And so in my service, the Basics 101, I lay out a foundation for people of what spirituality is, and then if they want to know what paganism is, I give them a foundation on that, and like so on and so on, right?
So how would you word what you just asked?
So what I teach is, and this comes back to like how simple spirituality can be, because it is so simple. What I teach is that spirituality is a very intimate practice, a very individualized practice, but it is an enlightenment of life, period. An enlightenment of life. And that is the best way I can describe it to people. But everything you said is the deep dive of my belief of it.
Yeah. There
is layers, there is lifespans, there is soul contracts, there is it is an experience for us to finally live in peace and not, I don't know how to say this because it's like everyone has grief and everyone has, hardships they go through, whether they're on a spiritual journey and they're experiencing enlightenment or not. But it's different. And I don't know how to really explain that difference because it's such a subtle shift. At least in my personal experience, the shift is so subtle that one day you just wake up and you're like, oh shit, this is it. Like, this is what I've been striving to feel. It is a feeling.
Right.
Not a lifestyle. It is a feeling.
And so there's another concept. A moment ago I just used a plant, to the best I can to describe. But there's a concept behind compound. So, we hear about it in like loans and that concept, but compound interest. Mm-hmm. But in this concept with growth, it's the compound effect of growth. So 1% today doesn't feel like a lot of growth. It's not even a lot of awareness. Maybe you don't even notice it. Maybe no one else around you notices it either. But when you do that 1% over 100 days, right? So
that adds up.
The book is A Slight Edge. Maybe you should listen to that one too.
Okay.
But they explain it very, very well. And I don't even remember the author. I remember I found that book in about 2007. Okay. And it was so simple to hear and to put into action that even the kids enjoyed listening to.
Okay.
So I've not mentioned it, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned that to you.
No.
But The Slight Edge, Compound Effects.
I'll try to find it and I'll put it in the show notes.
I think it definitely is on audiobook, though, because
you had to listen to it.
I think my mom still has the CD in her car.
Oh, that's
I mean, we'll have to see if all of this are there. Yeah. But anyway, how tiny bits today don't make a big difference until you're consistent with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I had a new thought bubble,
Okay.
right? We almost always or often use the analogy of an onion when we are talking about like peeling off the layers of trauma. Yeah. I'm curious now, how does an onion grow? Like, how is that process and how are those layers created? Sure. So, because that could be another analogy for spirituality and that growth and that concept, and I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I know.
So, while we're on where we had just mentioned how, doing that 1% every day adds up, right? Well, sometimes we don't even have 1% to give, right? Because this is a journey and it goes up and down and all around. And that doesn't mean like we're not doing what we should be doing. That doesn't mean that we're not on a spiritual journey still. That just means that we're at some type of standstill.
Well, 1% could even just be like, taking an extra deep breath. It could, maybe you shower today. Maybe today that's your 1%.
Yeah.
Or even less than that. Maybe just brush your teeth, right? With a different awareness of that, you appreciate the option to have a toothbrush. You appreciate the option to have all those things that allow you. Because I believe that appreciation for all things is a part of my spiritual journey as well. Realizing, I think we've had this conversation sometimes as moms and, whatever, we say we have to do things. Like, we have to get up and get the kid ready for school. Fuck that. Like, you get to. You are privileged to have a kid to get up and get ready for school, right? Yeah. So even that shift of that perspective in one word, I've got to versus I get to.
I really like that. And yesterday I actually used that.
Yeah.
Because the shop was closed and me and Weston were here. Mm-hmm. We were working on shirts. Well, I was working on shirts. Yeah. Weston was doing what he does best. And
he was exploring.
Yes.
He was exploring.
Learning all the things that he can and can't get into. And at one point I was getting frustrated because I'm like, you need to go down for a nap. You are so tired. And
were you talking about Weston or you?
I will just be completely honest. Yes. But he was really fighting yesterday because he's in a new, he doesn't get to come here very often. And when he does, he's like, he's a kid. So he was really fighting a nap. And I was getting frustrated because I'm like, you need a nap. And when you're napping, I know I can get the most done because I'm not having to, watch you. Mm-hmm. And so at one point, I'm trying for, the third time to, get him to go down for a nap. And I just looked at him. And I was like, you know what? I'm sorry. Yeah. You are doing your job correctly, and I'm not doing my job correctly. Yeah. You're very tired. Let's close our eyes. Let's take a nap, and then let's reset when you wake up. And we did. He went, right after that conversation, I sang to his favorite song, and he went right to sleep. Mm-hmm. And then I got done what I needed to get done, and when he woke up, I turned the TV around, I sat in our comfy chairs and cuddled him, and I didn't have to do any other work other than just let the printer go. Mm-hmm. And we just, I got to just spend time with my kid.
That you're so fortunate to have.
Yes.
Yeah. And so another shift in that situation that you probably didn't notice, or maybe you haven't realized as an option yet, yesterday, when you had that moment of awareness, mm-hmm. your energy changed.
Yeah.
And so his energy changed. You know, if he's just mirroring your energy,
yes.
Right? So if you're in that franticness, like you need a nap, and you're feeling all that, then so is he.
Yeah.
Right? And when you're just,
okay, mom's wrong, I'm sorry.
My bad.
Yeah.
Right? Let's pause, can we try this again?
Yeah.
And then just, using some verbs to offer that energy shift, So.
And he slept for a good 2 hours. Yeah. I was impressed.
He just needed mom to be like, hey.
Mom needed to chill out. Yeah. Is what needed to happen.
Stop freaking out, Mom. You're freaking me out too. And I can't put it in words the way you can.
Right.
So
yeah. That's one good practice is mm-hmm. just if the only thing you're doing else that day is showing up to shower or brush your teeth,
Yeah.
or showing up and recognizing
Mhm.
how your mood is affecting other people, you're still on the journey. You're still moving forward. You know? Like,
because there's a lot of people out there that can't even wrap their head around how they affect someone else, or how someone else may be affecting them, and they're just, you know, out in the world, being out in the world. I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah,
I mean, I do, but it wasn't.
It's not polite, is it?
It's not podcast friendly. Some people are just out there being shits, causing other people to be shits.
Yeah, that's funny. So,
but you know, I appreciate you sharing that. Like, maybe that's a little. I don't know if we can pull out little pieces, little clips of mom advice in the whole journey as well.
Yeah. Okay. One thing you had mentioned earlier is about consistency, right? And I feel like that is something that we see quite a bit. Is people will go through these consistent seasons of showing up and doing the work and doing all things, and then they fall off. And then when they come back, they're like, "Oh, I have to get back on. I haven't done that in a while. You know, I'm really feeling lost. You know, whatever." And
part of me wants to say it's your own downfall, but I don't. That's okay. You know, sometimes we've got to put the training wheels back on.
Well,
right?
With consistency, I don't think they understand, like, you don't have to be consistent in a specific thing. You just have to be consistent with yourself. And that's where I come back to you making the comment of just show up and brush your teeth. Just show up and take your shower. You don't have to sit there and journal every day. Like, you don't have to be consistent with stuff like that, because that's always going to come. The journey comes with you before anything else.
Yeah.
And you being consistent with yourself. Not the tools, not the practice, not meditating every night. Do you know how long? So I've been on this. This is going to be another podcast, but I'm doing this trial of trying to meditate every day for 7 days, right? Do you know how many days I did day 3? 4. 4 days.
Did you show up for 4 days trying to do day 3? Okay.
Well, yeah, I did.
So you had day 3.0, day 3.1. Okay,
yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, but it's stuff like that. Like, if you have a thing set to do something for 7 days, and by day 3 something happened and altered your time frame and you weren't able to do it, that doesn't mean that you still can't do day 3.
But you had awareness that day 3 was here.
Yeah.
Multiple times. Anyway.
Yeah, multiple times.
But that works. So, I mean, some people think this is bizarre of me. Out of 365 days, I will probably shower 362 of those, because my shower is my me time, right? It is my fresh start. It's washing away the day before's energy. It's just all of those things. Now, I do have days where I don't feel well, so it doesn't matter. Right, because I'm still in the same murky energy state, illness, whatever. But that is my me time. So it can be as simple as showering or washing your face, just to kind of take that moment for your energy reset, for sure.
My favorite thing to tell people when I'm introducing them to spirituality and paganism is that when we talk about mindfulness, right? So being mindful with appreciation, being mindful with being able to take a shower, being, you know, all the things. They're like, "Oh, I need to find time to do that." And I said, "Well, you do. You have plenty of time." And they look at me like, "No, I don't. I have this. I was like, "How often do you sit in the bathroom on your phone and take your shit?"
Yeah, so you do have time.
You do have time. Leave your phone out in the living room or out in the kitchen and sit there while you have nothing else to do but cleanse yourself. Cleanse your mind. Be mindful. Think of something that will start altering the way you think. Get off your phone.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
I like to feel my feet.
You like to feel your feet?
I know that sounds weird, but, you know, if you just took a moment and stood up and closed your eyes and took a slow, deep breath and a nice big exhale after, as you rock forward, you can feel your toes curl to catch you.
Interesting.
It's bizarre. Feel your feet. And that came from...
So that is not what I visualized.
Oh, you didn't like, feel my feet, right? No, I do not like feet. I will not be... I mean, I don't mind my feet. I have to take care of my feet, right? But I will not be feeling
That's so
anybody's
funny.
feet.
No.
And that came from another practitioner. That
Really?
is often, yeah, so I mean, that goes back to being perfect. Like, even the things I have learned, very few of them are just instant downloads of like, hey, this is the thing, right? Like, you learn from others. We've had others guide us too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another practitioner that was awesome.
That's so funny. So speaking of feet, one of my favorite things to do right now with,
Are you wiggling your toes?
well, I was just now, because we're talking about them. No, but one of my favorite things now, whether I'm just sitting or like whatever, is putting my feet together like in butterfly pose.
Yeah.
And that gives me the sense of grounding. Like, I can't physically, if I can't physically put my feet on the ground, like if I'm in bed or, you know, whatever the case is, I'll put the bottom of my feet together. And that's like my grounding. That's a simple practice, simple, like, you know, get me back.
Oh, so that's an aha moment for a minute. Like earlier, days ago when you were mentioning that, I didn't think about the whole pose, like, or the whole picture. Yeah. So when you're doing butterflies, sorry, we're taking a side trip. It's good for your hips.
Oh, yes.
It's a good hip opener.
Yes.
And maybe you've not heard me verbalize it this way, but the hips are attached to so many emotions. And so, like, as you're doing these hip opening poses, you're like breaking out the emotional roller coaster. I mean, in a good way, right? Like, you have to process them. But sit with yourself and how that has been different.
Well, now I have to go back and journal on my journaling.
Yeah.
Because, like, what have I missed? Interesting. I didn't know that.
The hips are.
See, forever a student.
Hips are attached to a lot of emotions, especially emotional trauma.
Okay.
Around, am I open to share? Okay. Around, like being a mom.
Okay.
Right? And being a child.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's one of the poses that I was taught actually to avoid early on in grief.
Why would you avoid that?
Because it can be so. It can be a lot. That's why.
Okay. Yeah. So ease into it, not so much avoid altogether. Ease into it.
Well, early on, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe you would avoid it. Like, avoided isn't always bad.
Yeah.
You know, if you're aware of the whys, right?
And you can always revisit it. Not avoid it forever. But okay.
That's short term.
So with also being on the spiritual journey, I think remembering to be as vulnerable and authentic as you can be. So if you are in a season of being like, I don't want to do shit, my spiritual practice doesn't feel right, you know, acknowledging that and being okay with that is still part of the journey, right? And not hiding. I feel like it's society. This is my viewpoint, agree with it or not, but I feel like where mental health has been so taboo for so long, us feeling anything outside of happiness and joy, we have been conditioned to hide.
Yeah.
We've been conditioned to hide that. So depression and anxiety, and that only manifests those bad, and I'm not going to call them bad because they're not bad. They're a human experience. We all have to experience them.
On the other end of the spectrum, though. Yeah.
Yes. But we don't need to hide that. We shouldn't hide that. And
so,
if we're acknowledging that to people that are a safe place to show those emotions around, I think that helps ease what you're feeling.
So I appreciate you sharing that last part because you added in there, like to know your safe place, basically.
Yes.
Right. And before you mentioned that, my thoughts went to, yes, however, know your audience.
Yes.
Because there are, unfortunately, people out there that will take that and use that against you, right? So,
absolutely.
Know your audience. And there's definitely another conversation, another podcast on knowing your audience as well.
Yeah.
But no, and that's often why, like, in a Reiki service or other services, when I'm offering services, I don't offer tissues. If you cry, I'm not going to try to coddle you, and I mean that in the best way possible. The best support I can give to someone that is experiencing human emotions and crying or angry or whatever is to let them, right? So that doesn't mean let them like beat the shit out of someone. That's not what I
Right.
mean. Is it on me? No. Okay. That's not what I mean. But if you are in a sound bath and you stood up and you realize that you're having an emotional release, or a passionate release, there's more on that too later, then I'm going to let you. Like, I'm not going to stop treating the whole room, right? Especially in those group situations. You need that emotion. You need that sometimes without someone trying to convince you that it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but just normalizing that is okay to do in public, for one. Obviously, you're in a safe environment to do so, but also you're coming to those services for specific things. So whether that's a Reiki session or a sound bath, or even just a conversation like your soul strings, or whatever it is, if you are moved to have a release, don't hold that in. That's only going to suppress what needs to come out even more, and it's going to come out even bigger.
Shit,
like, get it out. Just get it out.
Allow some processing time for that too. I mean, there's been people come in for a foot bath, and because of the conversation we have in a foot bath, that moment, there's a release there.
Or even when we've had people come in just to buy stuff, and we end up having a conversation out in the front. Like, it's not. Yeah, just be vulnerable. Just be authentic. Show up for yourself. That's also how you find your community, and that's also how you find your village. Because if you show up and just be yourself,
do you know how many people appreciate knowing that we're not perfect, that we don't have the face on?
Yeah.
Look, I don't ever have a face on, but especially that I don't have the face on 24/7.
Yeah.
That we are real humans.
Yeah.
So. That and acknowledging that, right? Sitting with that and acknowledging that today, maybe I just need extra water. Maybe I just need a nap. Maybe I just need a hug, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I think it helps too when people come in the shop and we're either having a really squirrely moment and we can't keep track of our left foot, or it's a day where we do just are like on zero, like our energy level is just on zero, and we tell people that. If they're coming in to seeking something, we're like, hey, you know what? I'm so sorry. This is where I'm at today. This is what I can't help you with. And I think that resonates with a lot of people because they keep coming back.
Yeah.
And I hope that people start showing up for themselves, like they show up for us. Because that's the purpose. That's the goal, is to show up for ourselves before anybody else, right? And being on the spiritual journey, whether you call it a journey, whether you call it experience, I don't know, whatever it makes sense to you. It's not perfect. It's forever.
But you can change your mind. Like, it can be something today and something different tomorrow.
Yeah.
Again, it's not perfect. So,
and changing your mind about tasks, I want to say that real quickly at this little pin in. If you call yourself a specific something, or you follow a specific path, or a specific religion, or however fits your mold, if that mold no longer is serving you, that's okay. That is okay. That's part of the journey. That's part of the enlightenment.
Holding on to that after it no longer fits, we like wearing a pair of shoes that are too small.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely.
Restricting. It doesn't feel
create a lot of damage like that.
Yeah, it's uncomfy. Well, I hope this resonated with you guys. I don't know why. This has been on my mind, like, since I woke up this morning. Yeah. And I came into the shop and I was like, Carla, this is the next topic.
I'm going to do this today.
Can we do this? So I hope it resonated with you guys the same way it did for me.
Don't forget to use the comment section. And if you need more of an option to be anonymous, then you can always text or find us on Facebook, and messages there too.
And I'll put all that stuff in the show notes.
Yeah, but please just know that feedback is important. And Karlie and I are not individuals that see conversation as a conflict. So if you see things differently, like, that's fucking okay too. Doesn't mean we're going to change our mind and agree with you, or, be on the same journey that you're on. But just acknowledging, like, something doesn't sit with you or something does sit with you, like, that's great for us too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, until next time,
Yeah.
we will
Have fun.
see you guys later. Thank you for listening and joining on, and we'll see you.
Yes.
See ya.
And we'll do more about recording some of the friendly banter in the prep part too, because that was fun. We're like, fuck, they missed it. Okay, that's all I got.
Bonus. Okay. Bye, guys. Thanks.